Surfers, knee pain, and some things you should try to see if it helps, because surfing with knee pain isn't fun surfing. Internet world, I'm Chris Mills with surfstrengthcoach.com. Like, subscribe, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, download our free Surf Athlete app. Gonna give you a list of things from tissue work and kind of mobilization of tissues around the knee to some exercises as well. I've recently had a couple of clients come in with some knee pain, and it's a really common occurrence, especially, the dudes over 30, 40, ACL tears, reconstructions, hip reconstructions, tight ankles. So what I'll give you is a sequence of stuff from tissue work into exercises into more progressive things to see if these are things you should implement, because the dynamics of surfing really will require a lot from the entire lower body, ankle, hip, and the knee in between. So give these a try. I'd also really pressure you to make sure you work with a qualified health practitioner before you just follow my YouTube advice and start slaving your knee away to these exercises. Go at it methodically, smart, efficiently, and consult with a health practitioner. So let's get into it. And a quick shout out to Panasonic Australia for this Lumix S5 camera kit. We're going to start with some tissue work. A floss band, you can get a voodoo floss band, rock tape band, I don't care. It's like an elastic, stretchy band. And we'll also do a tennis ball. We'll do some soft tissue mobilization around the knee joint. The thing that you really need to understand is the forces, if you're doing or want to continue doing higher level surfing, the forces that are placed directly into the tissues around the knee joint, right? It's heavy. And as age progresses, we've done a meniscus, we've done an ACL or broken ankle a couple of years ago, whatever, right? It's a laundry list of life experience and injuries. So the knee really, it's stuck in between ankle and hip. So in a later video, I'm going to really touch on femoral, so this femur internal rotation, and ankle dorsiflexion. If either of those are lacking, your knee's going to get beat up. And then already in surfing, we're putting this back knee especially into a really vulnerable position essentially. That's why you see a lot of MCL tears and stuff coming out of high-level surfers, a lot of ankle issues, because again, we're putting all this force into the knee joint, and so if I don't have adequate range of motion above and below, it's going to be an issue. So with that said, we're just going to start. If you don't have a floss band, all good, but if you are dealing with consistent knee things, you can get a floss band for like 20 bucks. Get one from Rock Tape, Voodoo floss band, whatever, and we're also going to just start with a tennis ball. So let's get in. We're just going to start tissue mobilization with the tennis ball. You can use a lacrosse ball, but I think really a tennis ball is as much as you need to go. You're going to go just above the patella, right? And we're going to start mobilizing this tissue. You're not breaking up knots. You are probably improving sliding surfaces of tissue, but essentially all this tissue, the fascia from it, will become this patellar tendon. And so let's move that tissue and see if we can have a positive effect on how your knee can flex and extend. So we're going after some pin and stretching, so you just take some time putting pressure into it, back and forth, take time, and then we start going into these pin and stretching techniques. Really simple first stop kind of protocol of my knee's hurting. Let's improve some of the tissue mechanics above that joint. Now again, you're not breaking up knots. That's not what's happening. You are probably altering some of the connective tissue, maybe some of the fibrotic, like fibrosis, maybe, but probably not. What you're most likely doing is altering the brain's interpretation of this area and changing perhaps some of the mechanoreceptors or proprioception, its awareness of this area. So back and forth, all above there, pin and stretch, spend about 5 minutes on that leg that kind of gives you grief, and again, come all the way up, the entire front of the leg. Make sure you also really get this lateral quadricep, vastus lateralis, actually comes all the way back to about here. This is all quadricep tissue with the IT band on top of it. So make sure you get all through that as well, because that can really change knee mechanics. After you've done that, move the knee around, see if it feels any different. If it does, cool, keep doing it. Voodoo floss band. If you get one, there's heaps of tutorials. There's really kind of simplicity of this. And again, this is really kind of working on brain's proprioception, this awareness of the area. but you're also really working on sliding surfaces. So get in there and wrap that thing up tight. Again, you can get one of these bands. I don't have any affiliation with Rock Tape, but they make good products, like 20 bucks. Cool. You can do a lot of stuff with elbows, with ankles. So you wrap it up tight, get it in there, and then we'll do both open and closed chain movement. So this is open chain, meaning my leg's not on the ground. And so it's just that pressure is changing how all that tissue is sliding and moving around that knee joint. I'll do some movements here. I can start doing some squat movements. And again, just like with the tennis ball, it's that n=1 experiment. You then undo it, obviously undo it, and have a look or have a feel and see if your knee feels any better. And if it does, then it's something you might want to start including in your repertoire of self-care, knee care, because you need that knee to be able to move. First exercise, we've got to go after hamstrings. If you've got a knee issue, it's very likely you need to do some strengthening of the hamstrings just because of how they help control the joint, right? They really help to control all this tibial internal and external rotation. They're kind of the brakes for excessive knee flexion. They're important. The simplicity of this drill often I think gets overlooked, and it's a staple in all client programs and will progress into a lot more stuff later, obviously. Progression, cool. So, hips up. This gets butchered all the time, even by all my clients that I do online stuff with. Knee needs to stay in line with the shoulders. See this straight line? Now it's a broken line. That's a hamstring curl with no kind of hip or proximal hamstring engagement, right? It's just distal hamstring by the knee. What we need to do is make sure hips come up. So we're also getting these glutes involved, right? So from here, nice push down into the ball. Drive hips up, right? Pretty good, slow, controlled tempo. I'd like at least 15 to 20 repetitions of this. And then once you've gotten to the point where you're doing 2 to 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetitions, you will progress to single leg. And once you can really start efficiently doing single leg, it shows you've got a pretty robust kind of posterior chain, and at least those positions to then start progressing to more standing variations, Nordic curl variations, other kind of really hamstring strength, control, and integrity. But start with good old basic hamstring curls with a goal to single leg. Now we're going to go specifically to the knee. Be cautious with this one and consult with your health practitioner. It can, if done wrong or too much load initially, piss off a knee joint. But what we need to understand is, again, the mechanics of surfing are putting load through a knee joint, and often at kind of disadvantageous positions. So we need to train the tissues around the knee joint to withstand forces. So there's names for this, Peterson step up, Patrick step up, Poliquin step up. Essentially, there's all sorts of details, but some will say if you need to toe out. So imagine me standing on, it could be a step like this, it could be one of those exercise, jazzercise steps, it could be a stack of weight plates. Some will say that I need to slightly toe out, and that will put more of an effort right onto this VMO muscle, this medial quadricep. Is that the case? Maybe. See what the difference is between straight forward and sideways for your own knee and see what helps. And what we're going to essentially do, nice vertical position, straight down, straight up. This can be a lot of load on a knee joint. So you might only be going to here. That might be it at first. Slow, controlled tempos. Okay? You can also play with elevating the heel. So this could be a weight plate, it could be a book. Down, up. I do pretty high reps of this. Minimum 15, usually I'm shooting for 20 to 30, 2 to 3 sets. Control, drive. control. And so this is specifically strengthening those tissues just above that knee. Quadricep, but a large emphasis on the tissues being able to control that knee flexion position. Over time, you start to hold weights and then enter the full Peterson step up where you're going through full dorsiflexion as well. And the key is don't put weight onto this foot that's lowered, right? It's just heel tap, drive up. Control, tap, drive up. High repetition, build some strength around that knee joint. Most complex move we've done, and this is definitely for some advanced stages, is a full, basically split squat, where we're going after mobility, but also full ankle range of motion. So if I set up in this range of motion here, get a tight core so I don't excessively extend, control down, going into almost max dorsiflexion, and then up. Don't think about pushing straight up, think about pushing backwards. Control, pause, drive out of it. Control, pause. I like that pause till we get almost an isometric contraction around that knee, and that's what over time will start to really build durability in that tissue. So not really high repetition here, more of that isometric hold. I usually program only about 6 to 8 reps with a 1, 2, 3 pause. And over time, these can start to be weighted as well, but often just start just with body weight. You can see it requires a lot of ankle range of motion, a lot of knee range of motion, driving back up. You're also working on flexibility of the back leg. So these are a really good drill if you've got knees that can move fairly well, and also work on some knee range of motion. There you go, a series of stuff that hopefully helps out your knee and then helps out your surfing. If you're into fitness, if you're into your training, check out the Surf Athlete app. Check out the full Surf Athlete 12-week program. And there's a whole bunch of other skill work, technique work, other training programs, paddling exercises, all that. Check out the app. You can download the free version right now. And as with everything you just learned from this video, apply it and see what works. Consult with a qualified health practitioner. Pain can be multifactorial. So just because one of these things doesn't work doesn't mean a combination of things can't. So just stay diligent. With the right efforts and inputs, physiology can adapt. You can get yourself out of pain and back to surfing. So again, like, subscribe, share the love. I'm Chris Mills again, surfstrengthcoach.com. Peace.